Scaling your law firm doesn't have to be difficult. It's all about mastering a few key strategies, systems, and mindsets. Welcome to the Scalable Law Podcast, where we talk about how you can increase profit in your pocket and time in your calendar. My name is Carolee Fontanelli, and I have successfully scaled my firm so that it doesn't solely rely on me. Now I love teaching other law firm owners how to do the same. Let's transform your business starting now. Welcome to another episode of the Scalable Law Podcast. I am your host, Carolee, and I'm so excited that you are here. Well, today I have an incredible guest for you, none other than Jack Newton, who is the founder and CEO of Clio. Clio is actually an incredible company. I really enjoyed Clio Con, where I went in October in Boston. There were more than 4,000 lawyers there on the floor at the conference, and so many amazing exhibitors and speakers as well. It was a jam-packed 2 days. And then soon after, I flew back from Boston to Australia, and the following week, Jack Newton and his crew from Canada came down to be with the team here on the ground in Australia. One of the things that really impresses me about Clio is their culture. That was something that really stood out for me when I got introduced to Clio. Something that I find very impressive about Jack Newton and the team is that they love hanging out with their partners and their clients. And it doesn't matter how big or smaller of a client you are welcome at Clio. That is made abundantly clear as we sat around when they put on the Clio Innovate Day in Sydney for their clients. It was an excellent day, and I was very lucky to get an interview with Jack on that day. So I would love for you to tune in as Jack and I talk about legal tech and what is going on in the world of law down under. Welcome, Jack Newton, to the Scalable Law Podcast. I'm so excited to have you on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So it's really exciting for me that the CEO of this huge company comes all the way from Canada down to Australia to meet with the clients, meet with the partners, and just be here. And that's one of the things that I really noticed about Clio when I first went to ClioCon in 2022. I was probably one of the only Australians in the room, but it was so easy to connect with your team. And Clio has clearly done so well in terms of culture. So talk me through being a leader and how you set the tone for culture at Clio.
Yeah, culture's always been an important part of Clio's success. And it's been really, I think, a deliberate focus of mine since day one. When I founded the company with Ryan Gover, my co-founder, back in 2008, we really, one of the reasons we started a company on our own was we thought we could make a company that both of us would want to work at, and thought really deliberately about what is the kind of culture that we would find engaging, what's the kind of company we would want to work to, be excited to come to work for every day. And so over the course of the last 17 years, we've been very deliberate in terms of our values, building out a very explicit set of values that we hire against, that we promote against, and when we have to, we fire against. We are always talking about our values on a day-to-day basis at Clio in terms of how we make decisions, in the people we promote. It's in our hiring rubric. So it's woven into our day-to-day process in a really, really foundational way. And I would also say that our mission is a huge part of our culture. Our mission, which we articulate as transforming the legal experience for all, is a very audacious and bold mission that we fundamentally believe we can achieve through technology, through the cloud, and now through AI. We can really enable lawyers to transform how they deliver legal services, and in turn to deliver legal services to more people. And one of the things I talked about in the keynote today is this huge access to justice gap. There's 77% of legal issues that are not addressed by lawyers today. And I see that, number one is a shame. There's all sorts of people that need legal answers and legal outcomes that they're not able to see. But it's also a huge market opportunity for lawyers that can access that latent legal market. There's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity to be unlocked. And so that mission to enable lawyers to go after that latent legal market is something that really motivates the entire Clio team. They achieve and pursue that mission by living our values, which is something we make really, really explicit. And then what I hear consistently from people, and we just came back from ClioCon in Boston a week ago, what I hear consistently from customers and prospects and just anyone that attends the conference is, everyone from Clio on the ground there feels so dialed in and so passionate and so in the moment and present and engaged in the work they're doing, and frankly just happy to be part of the team. And it's authentic. And I think we've just done a great job over the course of 17 years of building and reinforcing this culture that is very passionate about the mission, and also very passionate about the how we pursue that mission and achieve our goals.
Yeah, I definitely felt that when I went to ClioCon the first time in 2022. And that was why I really was very keen on getting Clio in my own firm. But it wasn't in Australia at that point. It was coming,
right?
But it wasn't.
Yeah, you would have been maybe a year ahead of the curve there.
And so when as soon as it came down to Australia, I was super keen. But we were locked into a contract with another company,
right?
Which was very difficult to get our documents out of their system. And so with what you guys offer, you don't have lock-in contracts at all, which is highly appealing and very helpful when you're trying to scale a law firm, because sometimes you don't have as many people as you have licenses, and then you're stuck with all these licenses that you're not using. So talk to me through that offer that you have and why that made good sense for you guys to do it that way.
Yeah, well, we've got what seems like a very, to me, intuitive and obvious way of approaching business, but it's certainly not the way everyone approaches business. And that is, it's incumbent on us to re-earn your business every month with Clio. And one of the great aspects of software as a service and the monthly subscription concept is it gives you, the consumer of that SaaS product, a lot of optionality around whether you expand your licenses or contract your licenses or even switch to an entirely different provider entirely. And I just think it's our job to re-earn your business every month. And every month you roll into your next month of your Clio subscription, we want that to be something you're happy with and that you feel we've earned your business. And hopefully you feel like every month you're getting more and more value out of that. You've enabled more features, you're leveraging more features. We've maybe shipped some new features that you're able to unlock. We just announced Clio Work and a whole bunch of new AI capabilities that can dramatically amplify your productivity at your firm. And so hopefully you feel every month just more and more excited and compelled by the value you're getting out of Clio. And we don't feel to maintain a very loyal customer base, we need to be employing any draconian tactics to keep people locked in, whether that's long-term subscription agreements, multi-year agreements, or creating a lot of friction around getting your data out of Clio. Another foundational, and again, to me, it seems just intuitive and obvious, but again, it's not the case for everyone, obviously. But I believe that you own the data that you have in Clio, and that you should have the right to export that data freely and to port it to another system if that's ultimately what you want to do. And especially in the context of legal data, it's not just you that rightfully own that data. It's actually ultimately the client.
That's right. Yeah.
That owns that data.
100%.
And
you're only like custodian of it,
you're
and you
custodian.
have to for like 7 years.
Exactly. And you're stewards of that client data for the client, and we in turn are stewards on your behalf. So, to me, creating any kind of barrier to accessing that data and exporting it is just antithetical to delivering on that promise to the client that this data belongs to them. And look, those approaches, the approach we've taken on monthly subscriptions, the approach we've taken on data portability has led us to a point where we've got absolutely world-class retention rates on our product. When we share our retention data with investors, it's the best retention rates they've ever seen in any business that they've looked at.
Yeah,
and so it's paid off. It's a strategy that I think gives clients the comfort of knowing they've got optionality. But again, we're putting the work in to make sure every single month we remain the best choice for their law firm.
100%. So one of the things about coming down to Australia is that we've had quite a tight market down here. Leap, Action Step, Smoke Ball. And our market, I'm dealing with law firms every day, and Clio to them in their mind seems like a small component in the practice management software world or industry. Can you, without tooting your horn too much, but I do want you to toot your horn, explain to people who are listening on the podcast exactly how huge Clio actually is?
Well, I'll try to toot my horn in a very Canadian way, which is, kind of a
not an American way.
A more humble approach. And we're a Canadian company for any of your listeners that might not know. But we, number one, when we launched in 2008, we were the first cloud-based practice management system to launch in the world. So we really introduced the cloud to the legal profession in 2008. And thanks to that early head start, and I think a lot of really strong execution along the way, have grown into the most widely used practice management platform in the world. So today we are utilized in over 130 countries around the world. We have over 200,000 legal professionals on the platform. The company is of real scale. We generate over 300 million US in annual recurring revenue every year. We will end this year at over 2,000 employees. Earlier this year, we announced the largest acquisition in legal tech history ever,
which is amazing,
transformative, something we're super excited about. But the acquisition of VLEX for $1 billion US, which is expected.
How much Canadian is that? Because it's about the same Australian.
That's about 1.4 billion Canadian.
It's a lot.
So a lot of money, and it's about par with the Australian dollar. And that on a global basis is the largest legal tech acquisition ever, and something we're really excited will power the future of legal AI, not just for Clio, but for the legal industry as a whole. And maybe bringing this back to Australia, what we saw 4 years ago when we started really assessing the Australian market opportunity was, number one, what I regarded as an extremely tech-forward market. I think Australia is one of the most technophilic markets in the world, and very advanced, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 years ahead of almost any other market in the world in terms of not just actually adopting legal technology, but I think also the mindset around why you're adopting legal technology, and a very client-centric approach to adopting technology with a view to ultimately delivering better experiences and better results to your ultimate client, which is obviously an approach that I love. So we saw a high adoption rate for technology, very advanced technology adoption in Australia, but we also saw a market that was hungry for alternatives. And as you pointed out, there's 2 or 3 players that have among them basically a monopoly on the Australian market, and some of those players have, as you alluded to earlier, employed what many regard as very customer hostile practices. Whether that's data lock-in, whether that's draconian subscription expectations and long-term agreements with little flexibility and little in the way of out clauses and so on. So we felt like this was a market that was ripe for disruption and ripe for an alternative in the form of Clio. And in the 3 years since we planted our flag in Australia and said, hey, Australia, Clio's here now, we've just seen explosive growth.
Yes.
It's been so encouraging for us. It feels, almost like overnight, the amount of success we've seen has been tremendous. And you see it firsthand on the ground here at the Innovate Legal Summit and the customer dinners and other activities we do here. There's just a groundswell of support and energy around alternatives to some of the incumbents in the Australian market. So we're, I know, still a little bit of a new name here and still building some of that reputation and credibility and brand recognition in the Australian market.
And people have questions around, people that I'm talking to who are interested or curious about moving over to Clio. Some of the questions are, is it Australian compliant?
Yes.
Things like that.
Exactly.
And I know, and you've overcome a lot in terms of dealing with all the different law societies and all
those
of that
are all,
kind of thing.
Yeah, and those are all the right questions for one, and exactly why we built a dedicated team on the ground here in Australia. We've got product managers, we've got engineers, we've got go-to-market folks, we've got Denise Farmer, our GM of APAC, really focused on activating this market and building Clio to all the specific needs of the Australian market, whether that's New South Wales trust accounting compliance or other requirements that are specific to the Australian market. We are deeply committed to this market, building a customized set of capabilities specific for this market. And again, with the North Star that we want Clio to be the obvious choice for any Australian lawyer as their practice management platform of choice.
Absolutely. And from my perspective, having been with the product since 2009, where I didn't know anyone at that company and they only called on renewal time every 3 years, that was hugely frustrating. Whereas we started off the interview talking about culture, and that culture is no different in your Australian team. It's permeated right through to here.
Yeah.
And everyone that you have got, everyone knows your name. They're very involved in the legal community, and just super approachable, which has been absolutely refreshing in our market.
Great. That's great to hear. And I'm super happy to hear that. And I think part of what you see with our approach as well is, coming onto the Clio platform isn't just about choosing a software product, but we really want this to be about building a community of legal professionals that imagine a better way of practicing law and a way of delivering better outcomes for their clients, but also achieving a better life for themselves and creating, better work-life balance, getting a better profitability in their law firm. Whatever outcome they're trying to drive, we want the community that surrounds the Clio product to be a community that can support all the lawyers and all the different outcomes they might want to see out of adopting that platform. So it's something I'm always excited to see on the ground at events like the Innovate Legal Summit this afternoon, where it's about something bigger than just software. It's really about imagining the future of the practice of law and how we can realize that together.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
For coming down to Australia. I know it's a hugely long trip. I just followed in your footsteps down from Boston.
I love the country. It's such a beautiful place to visit, and the people are amazing. So thank you for being my host.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the Scalable Law Podcast, brought to you by the Scalable Business Lounge. If you would love to know how you can get more clients without relying on referrals, head over to scalablelaw.com to watch my free masterclass. Until next time, you have got this.